Comfort feels harmless. That's why it's dangerous. It doesn't attack you. It doesn't scare you. It doesn't warn you. It slowly convinces you that nothing needs to change. And that belief ruins more potential than fear ever could. Fear is obvious. Comfort is quiet. Fear makes you alert. Comfort makes you sleepy. And while you're asleep, your life drifts. Here's the truth. Nobody admits. Comfort doesn't destroy you in one moment. It erodes you over time. One skipped effort, one delayed decision, one "I'll do it tomorrow." None of it feels serious until you look back and realize years passed and nothing moved. Comfort is the only enemy that feels like a friend. It tells you, you deserve rest. You've done enough today. There's no rush. Those sentences sound reasonable. They're lethal. Because growth never happens where comfort lives. Growth only happens where discomfort begins. Now let's talk about why comfort is so powerful. Because it feels earned. You worked hard. You survived stress. You handled pressure. So comfort feels like a reward. And that's how it traps you. You reward effort with stagnation. You rest longer than necessary. You settle sooner than you should. You trade potential for peace. And peace without progress becomes a prison. Here's the first way comfort kills your future. It removes urgency. When you're comfortable, nothing feels pressing. There's always time, always later, always tomorrow. Urgency is what drives action. Without it, action decays. You don't quit. You drift. And drift is harder to notice than quitting because nothing breaks. Nothing explodes. You just slowly lower standards. Now let's talk about standards. Comfort lowers them quietly. You don't wake up and decide to expect less from yourself. You adjust. You say, "I'll do the minimum today. I don't need to push right now." Those adjustments feel temporary. They become permanent. Comfort trains you to tolerate less effort, less focus, less discomfort. Over time, your capacity shrinks and you don't notice until effort feels exhausting. Now, let's talk about discipline. Comfort is discipline's natural predator. Discipline requires friction. Comfort removes it. When life is comfortable, there's no reason to push, no reason to stretch, no reason to endure boredom or pain. So discipline weakens, not because you're lazy, because you're unchallenged. Muscles don't grow without resistance. Neither does character. Now let's talk about ambition. Comfort doesn't kill ambition outright. It dulls it. You still want more. You just don't want it badly enough to be uncomfortable. So you dream without acting. You plan without committing. You talk without executing. Comfort lets you fantasize safely. No risk, no exposure, no rejection. Ambition becomes entertainment, not a driver. Now let's talk about time again. Comfort distorts time. When life is comfortable, time feels abundant. So you waste it. Not intentionally, casually. You scroll, you delay, you relax again. Time only feels valuable when pressure exists. Comfort removes pressure, so time leaks. Years pass, and one day, urgency returns. But now the cost is higher. Now let's talk about fear. People think fear stops them. It doesn't. Fear sharpens. Comfort dulls. Fear makes you prepare. Comfort makes you assume. Fear asks, "What if I fail?" Comfort asks, "Why rush?" Fear pushes you forward. Comfort pulls you back. Now let's talk about why comfort is seductive. Because it feels like stability, routine, safety, predictability. And those things are not bad. They're just dangerous when they become permanent. Stability without growth turns into stagnation. Predictability without challenge turns into decay. Comfort is not evil. Staying there is. Now let's talk about success. People assume success creates comfort. It does, briefly. Then comfort starts destroying what success built. That's why people plateau, why they fall off, why they lose hunger. Comfort after success is even more dangerous because now you have something to protect. So you avoid risk. You stop experimenting. You play not to lose. And playing not to lose always loses long term. Now let's talk about the internal voice comfort uses. It never shouts. It whispers, "You can skip today. You've earned a break. Just this once." Comfort never argues for quitting. It argues for postponing. Postponing compounds. That's why comfort wins. Now let's talk about why comfort feels rational. Because it often follows stress. After pressure, your body wants relief. That's natural. The problem is, when relief becomes routine, recovery becomes avoidance, rest becomes retreat, and retreat becomes identity. You become someone who protects comfort at all costs. Now let's talk about identity. Comfort reshapes identity slowly. You stop seeing yourself as someone who pushes. You see yourself as someone who deserves ease. That identity resists effort. Effort feels unfair. Why work harder when things are fine? That mindset caps growth instantly. Now let's talk about boredom. Comfort loves boredom. It feeds on it. When things get boring, comfort says, "Why bother?" Winners push through boredom. Losers escape it. Comfort provides endless escapes, entertainment, distraction, noise. So boredom never forces growth. It just leads to consumption. Now, let's talk about the biggest lie comfort tells. This is enough. Enough money. Enough skill. Enough progress. Enough is the most dangerous word in personal growth. Enough freezes motion. Motion is life. Stagnation is slow decay. Now let's talk about how comfort hides consequences. Nothing bad happens immediately. That's the trick. You don't feel weaker today. You feel fine. You don't see missed opportunity today. You see it years later. Comfort delays pain. It doesn't remove it. It compounds it. Now let's talk about the people who escape comfort. They're not extreme. They're not obsessed. They're not miserable. They simply refuse to stay comfortable too long. They reintroduce discomfort intentionally. Challenges, deadlines, constraints. They make comfort temporary, not permanent. Now let's talk about where you are. If your life feels stable but flat, predictable but uninspiring, safe but unsatisfying, comfort is already winning, and it will keep winning until something interrupts it. Usually pain, failure, regret, but those are expensive teachers. There's a cheaper way. Voluntary discomfort. Chosen pressure. Intentional challenge. Now let's strip this down. Comfort is your biggest enemy because it convinces you to stop growing before you have to. It removes the signal to act. It replaces hunger with numbness. And numbness feels like peace until you realize you've been asleep. Because once you see comfort for what it is, you need to know how to fight it without becoming miserable, and how to use discomfort strategically instead of chaotically. Escaping comfort doesn't mean becoming miserable. That's the mistake people make. They think the opposite of comfort is suffering. It's not. The opposite of comfort is challenge with direction. Winners don't torture themselves. They don't live in pain. They don't hate their lives. They simply refuse to let comfort become permanent. They use discomfort intentionally. That's the difference. Now let's talk about how winners actually deal with comfort. They don't wait until comfort becomes unbearable. They interrupt it early, on purpose, before it softens them, before it dulls urgency, before it rewires identity. That interruption is subtle, but consistent. Here's the first rule winners live by. Comfort is allowed but never trusted. They enjoy rest. They enjoy ease. They enjoy stability. But they never assume it's harmless. They ask one question constantly. Is this comfort helping me recover or helping me avoid? That question exposes everything. Recovery prepares you to push again. Avoidance keeps you where you are. Now let's talk about voluntary discomfort. This is the weapon against comfort, not chaos, not burnout. Voluntary discomfort means choosing small challenges before life forces big ones. Winners don't wait for pain to motivate them. They inject pressure in controlled doses. Deadlines they choose. Standards they enforce. Rules they don't negotiate. That keeps urgency alive without destroying peace. Now, let's talk about the biggest shift. You stop optimizing for feeling good. You start optimizing for capacity. Capacity to focus. Capacity to endure boredom. Capacity to stay consistent under pressure. Comfort optimizes for feeling good now. Capacity optimizes for handling more later. Winners choose capacity because capacity gives freedom long term. Now let's talk about habits. Comfort kills habits by softening consequences. When there's no cost to skipping, skipping becomes normal. Winners reintroduce cost, not punishment. Cost. They create rules like, I don't skip twice. I start even if I don't finish. I show up before I decide. Those rules make skipping uncomfortable again. That's good. Discomfort around skipping protects discipline. Now let's talk about boredom again. Comfort tells you boredom is a problem. It's not. Boredom is a signal that novelty is gone. That's where depth begins. Winners don't escape boredom. They settle into it. They understand that boredom is the gateway to mastery. Once boredom stops scaring you, comfort loses power. Now let's talk about pain versus discomfort. Pain is damage. Discomfort is growth. Comfort trains you to treat discomfort like pain, so you avoid it. Winners know the difference. They avoid damage. They seek discomfort. That distinction keeps them sane. Now let's talk about daily life. You don't fight comfort by changing everything. You fight it by changing one thing. One habit that feels a little uncomfortable. One conversation you've been avoiding. One standard you've been lowering. You don't need intensity. You need consistency. Comfort loses slowly, but permanently. Now let's talk about the environment. Comfort thrives in environments that remove friction. Everything easy. Everything fast. Everything convenient. Winners intentionally add friction. They make distractions harder. They make effort easier. They don't rely on willpower. They rely on design. Design beats comfort every time. Now let's talk about time again. Comfort makes you think you have plenty of it. Winners behave as if time is shrinking, not anxiously. Accurately, they don't rush. They just don't delay. That mindset alone changes decisions. You stop asking, can this wait? You ask, what happens if I don't do this now? That question destroys comfort instantly. Now let's talk about the emotional side. Breaking comfort feels wrong at first. Your body resists. Your mind protests. You feel guilty for pushing. That's conditioning. Comfort taught you that effort equals harm. That belief fades with exposure. The more you choose discomfort voluntarily, the less threatening it feels. Eventually, comfort becomes boring, and challenge becomes normal. That's the flip. Now, let's talk about confidence again. Comfort creates fragile confidence. Confidence that depends on conditions staying easy. Discomfort creates durable confidence. Confidence rooted in knowing you can handle strain. That confidence doesn't disappear when life gets hard, because it was built there. Now, let's talk about regret. Most regret is not about failure. It's about comfort. I stayed too long. I waited too much. I settled. Comfort creates regret by delaying action until options shrink. Winners choose discomfort early to avoid regret later. That trade always favors them. Now, let's talk about success plateaus. People don't fail. They stall. They reach a level of comfort and stop pushing. Income plateaus. Skill plateaus. Identity plateaus. Winners break plateaus by reintroducing challenge, new constraints, higher standards, fresh discomfort. Plateaus are not solved by motivation. They're solved by pressure. Now let's talk about mental strength. Mental strength is not toughness. It's tolerance. Tolerance for boredom. Tolerance for discomfort. Tolerance for silence. Comfort lowers tolerance. Discomfort raises it. High tolerance expands options. Low tolerance shrinks them. Now, let's talk about why this matters right now. Because comfort is easier than ever. Endless entertainment. Endless convenience, endless distraction. The environment is designed to keep you comfortable and passive. If you don't fight comfort intentionally, you will lose by default. Not dramatically, quietly. Now let's talk about the final rule winners follow. Never let comfort decide direction. Rest can decide pace. Comfort can decide timing. But comfort never decides direction. Direction is chosen when things are hard. That's when decisions matter. Now, let's make this practical. Here's the anti-comfort framework. You don't overhaul your life. You choose one daily discomfort. One. Something small but deliberate. Cold start to work. Hard conversation. Focused session without distraction. Training when you don't feel like it. You do it daily. No negotiation. That single discomfort keeps the edge sharp. Now let's talk about sustainability. You don't stack discomfort endlessly. You cycle it. Push, recover, push again. Comfort becomes recovery, not a lifestyle. That balance prevents burnout and keeps growth alive. Now let's talk about identity again. At some point, you stop saying, I'm trying to get out of my comfort zone, and start saying, I don't stay comfortable for long. That identity is powerful because it guides decisions automatically. You don't debate, you move. Now let's talk about the moment comfort loses control. It's not dramatic. You don't feel heroic, you feel clear. You notice when you're avoiding and you act anyway. That's it. No hype, no speeches, just movement. Now the final challenge. This is not extreme, it's intentional. For the next 14 days, identify one comfort you've been hiding in this. Replace it with one small discomfort. Do it daily, not to suffer. To wake up, track only one thing. Did I choose discomfort today? That's it. If this exposed how comfort has been quietly holding you back, leave a comment with one word, uncomfortable. And subscribe if you want more of this. Not motivational noise. Not fake toughness. But the mental clarity that keeps you growing when comfort tries to put you to sleep. Because comfort is not evil, but staying there is. And once you see that, you can never unsee it.